Hello, everyone. Today, you're about to hear a life story from someone who isn't alive. Yes, the narrator of this story is an old blue plastic stool, a simple, ordinary piece of plastic furniture, without a heartbeat, without emotions, without a voice of its own. And yet, for 35 long years, I quietly witnessed a love story so beautiful that somewhere along the way, even an emotionless stool seemed to gather memories that felt like emotions. Before I begin telling you the story of Anand and Kavita, allow me to tell you how I became a part of their lives. My story began on a warm Sunday afternoon in a small neighborhood furniture shop. I stood there, bright blue, brand new, waiting for someone to take me home. I had no idea that a young newly married couple named Anand and Kavita would walk through that door. They weren't searching for luxury, they were simply trying to build a home with whatever little they could afford. And when Anand smiled, pointed towards me, and said, "Let's take this one," neither he nor I knew that I wasn't just being bought. That day, I became a silent member of a family. The story you're about to see is not mine, it is theirs. I was only fortunate enough to witness it. Delhi, the year was 1992. It was a simple arranged marriage. No designer clothes, no destination wedding, no expensive decorations, just blessings from elders. A few relatives, and two young people who believed that love could grow with time. Anand had recently started working as a junior accountant. His monthly salary was modest. His greatest possession was a second hand scooter that often refused to start on winter mornings. Kavita had completed her degree in literature. She loved books, poetry, and children. She secretly dreamed of becoming a teacher one day. After the wedding, they moved into a tiny rented apartment. There was barely enough space for a bed, a steel cupboard, a small gas stove, and one blue plastic stool. That little stool became everything. Sometimes it was a dining chair, sometimes a table, sometimes a place to keep the evening tea, and sometimes it simply became a silent witness to two people learning how to build a life together. Money was always limited. Every rupee had to be planned. Before buying anything, Anand would always ask, "Do we really need this?" And Kavita would laugh. "We need each other first. Everything else can wait." Every evening, after Anand returned from work, they sat together with one cup of ginger tea. Sometimes they shared a single samosa. Sometimes they simply watched people walking outside from their tiny balcony. They spoke about dreams. Small house someday, children, growing old together. They never imagined luxury. They simply prayed for enough. One evening, Anand looked at Kavita and smiled. "We may never have everything." Kavita gently held his hand. "As long as we have each other, we'll never have nothing." At that moment, neither of them knew. Life had already begun preparing their first great test. 2 years passed peacefully. Then one rainy afternoon, everything changed. Without any warning, the company Anand worked for shut down. Employees were asked to leave immediately. No compensation, no certainty, no tomorrow. Anand drove home through heavy rain. For the first time in his life, he had nowhere to go the next morning. When he entered the house, Kavita immediately sensed something was wrong. He quietly removed his wet shoes, sat down on the little blue plastic stool, and stared at the floor. After a long silence, he whispered, "I've lost my job." His voice trembled. "What if I can't take care of us anymore?" For a few moments, only the sound of rain filled the room. Kavita walked into the kitchen. She prepared a cup of hot ginger tea, placed it beside him, then sat on the floor. She gently held his hand. "Anand, I didn't marry your salary. I married the man who never gives up." He looked at her. She smiled. "You know accounts. I know children. You have your education. I have my voice. We're not losing our future, simply changing our plans." The very next week, their tiny home transformed into a classroom. Every afternoon, children filled the room. Tiny voices recited multiplication tables. Alphabet songs echoed through the house. Kavita taught with all her heart. Meanwhile, Inan accepted every bookkeeping assignment he could find. Nothing was too small, nothing was beneath him. Some months they survived on simple khichdi. Some months there were no new clothes, no movies, no celebrations. Yet every night before sleeping, they thanked God, not for what they had, but for what they still had: each other. The difficult year taught them something that no school ever could. Money can build a house, but only love can build a home. Then came the day that changed their lives forever. A baby boy, they named him Rohan. The little apartment suddenly felt brighter. His tiny laughter filled every empty corner. His first smile became their morning sunshine. His first word became their favorite song. From that day onward, every dream Anand and Kavita had began with one question: what is best for Rohan? As the years passed, they forgot many things. They forgot buying new clothes, forgot going on holidays, forgot spending money on themselves, but they never forgot a single school fee, a single birthday, or a single promise made to their son. Then one night, life tested them again. Rohan was only 4 years old. Kavita woke up in the middle of the night. She placed her hand on his forehead. Her heart skipped a beat. His body was burning with fever. There were no taxis, no app based cabs, no nearby ambulance. Without wasting a second, Anand lifted his son into his arms. He ran barefoot through silent streets, through darkness, toward the government hospital nearly 2 kilometers away. Kavita ran beside him, holding a wet cloth against Rohan's forehead, praying every step of the way. Not once did Anand stop. Not once did he complain. A father's love doesn't measure distance, it measures hope. Finally, the doctor smiled. Your son is safe. Only then did Anand and Kavita breathe. Sitting quietly on a cold hospital bench, they looked at their sleeping son. Neither spoke. Words were unnecessary. Sometimes, gratitude is felt most deeply in complete silence. As they walked home at sunrise, Anand looked at Kavita. We'll give him every opportunity we never had. Kavita smiled. Even if it costs us every dream we've ever dreamed. Neither realized. Those words would one day define the rest of their lives. Time has a beautiful way of rewarding patience. The little boy who once held his father's finger was now taller than him. Rohan had grown into a bright young man. Hard work had become his habit. Honesty had become his character. His parents often smiled and said, we never taught him these values. He learned them by watching. One summer afternoon, a letter arrived. It was Rohan's engineering admission letter. For a few moments, their tiny home exploded with joy. Neighbors came over to congratulate them. Kavita prepared sweets. Anand proudly read the admission letter again and again. But when he reached the fee structure, his smile slowly faded. The amount was far beyond anything they had imagined. That night, sleep never came. Not because they didn't have money, but because they had already decided Rohan would never know their worries. The next morning, Anand quietly opened the garage. Standing there was their faithful companion, the old second-hand Maruti 800. It wasn't just a car, it had carried Rohan to school, to cricket coaching, to family picnics, to temples before every examination. It had witnessed laughter, arguments, songs during long drives, and countless family memories. Anand gently wiped the dust from its bonnet, almost as if he were thanking an old friend. A few hours later, he handed the keys to its new owner as the little Maruti slowly disappeared around the corner. Kavita stood beside him. Without saying a word, she slipped her hand into his, and Anand smiled through moist eyes. Our car hasn't left us. It has simply gone ahead to carry our son's future. That evening, they walked home together for the first time in years. And strangely, their hearts felt lighter than ever. Because not every sacrifice feels like a loss. Some sacrifices feel like hope wearing a different face. The years passed, Rohan completed engineering with distinction. Soon another letter arrived. This time from one of the finest universities abroad. It was an opportunity few students ever received. But once again, the dream carried a price, a very big one. For nearly 15 years, Anand and Kavita had quietly saved every extra rupee. No unnecessary expenses, no luxury, no indulgence. Every festival bonus, every salary increment, every small saving had gone into one dream, a small apartment of their own. Not a palace, just a home where they could spend their retired years together. One Sunday, they visited the apartment that they hoped would soon be theirs. The rooms were empty, but in their hearts, they could already see everything. This corner will be our little temple. Kavita smiled. And here, Anand pointed toward the balcony. I'll grow jasmine flowers. Kavita laughed. And I'll sit beside you every evening. With our tea, for a few precious minutes, they allowed themselves to dream. The very next day, they quietly walked back into the builder's office. Not to collect the keys, but to cancel the booking. The advance payment was refunded within hours. Every rupee was transferred to Rohan's university abroad. Their dream home didn't disappear. It simply crossed an ocean. When Rohan called that evening, his voice trembled. Papa, Ma, I don't know how I'll ever repay you. Anand laughed softly. Who asked you to repay us? You are not our expense, Peter. You are our life's greatest investment. Kavita added gently. Just promise us one thing. Wherever life takes you, never forget where your journey began. That promise stayed with Rohan forever. Thousands of kilometers away, Rohan worked harder than he had ever worked before. Every examination reminded him of the dreams his parents had quietly sacrificed. Every achievement belonged as much to Anand and Kavita as it did to him. Years passed. Rohan completed his studies with distinction. Soon he built a successful career abroad. One evening, during their usual Sunday video call, Rohan smiled shyly. There is someone I'd like both of you to meet. Her name was Annie. Warm, kind, gentle. She greeted them with folded hands. Namaste, uncle. Namaste, auntie. Within minutes, the conversation felt less like strangers meeting and more like family finding each other. As the months passed, Annie often listened to stories about Anand and Kavita, how they had sold their Maruti for Rohan's education, how they had given up their dream home, how every sacrifice had quietly shaped his future. One evening, she looked at Rohan and said, I fell in love with you because of the man you are. But today I realize I also fell in love with the parents who made you that man. When Rohan asked for their blessings to marry, Anand and Kavita smiled through tears. Their son's happiness had always been their greatest prayer. Years rolled by video calls. Every Sunday became a cherished family tradition. Birthdays were celebrated across continents. Festivals were shared through phone screens, distance separated countries, but never hearts back home. Life had become quieter. Anand's hair had turned silver. Kavita now needed reading glasses to write her poems. One peaceful evening, they sat on their small balcony, sharing their usual cup of ginger tea. Between them stood the same old blue plastic stool. The teacups rested on it, just as they had decades earlier. For a long moment, they watched the setting sun in silence. Then Anand spoke softly. Kavi, Rohan has found his world. Kavita smiled. And we have found our peace. After a thoughtful pause, Anand said, I've been thinking. When the time comes, perhaps we should move into a good old age home. Kavita looked at him quietly. No responsibilities. Good medical care, people of our own age. And most importantly, she smiled gently. Our son will never have to worry whether we are safe. Anand nodded. We spent our whole life trying to make his journey lighter. Let's not become the weight he has to carry. Kavita reached across the little blue plastic stool and held his hand. We have lived a beautiful life, Anand. Now let us grow old with dignity. And let our son live without guilt. The evening breeze carried the fragrance of the jasmine flowers. The old blue plastic stool stood silently between them, still witnessing another promise, made only out of love. Neither Anand nor Kavita knew that life had quietly made very different plans for them. The 35th wedding anniversary, cake, smiles, family photographs. Anand and Kavita think this is the surprise. It isn't. Rohan quietly places a key in Anand's hand. Anand laughs. Whose car did you buy? Everyone smiles. Rohan says, Not a car, Papa. A home. They reach the gated community. Beautiful gardens, children playing, security salutes. The lift opens. Door slowly opens. Anand says, like any ideal loving father, Beta, why did you spend so much? Your mother and I had already decided. After retirement, we'd happily move into a small old age home. At this age, we need very little. The older we grow, the lighter life should become. Then Rohan starts speaking. Papa, do you remember what you once told me? You said I was never an expense. I was your life's greatest investment. Anand slowly looks up. Rohan continues. Every investment gives a return, Papa. Today, I am simply returning yours. All my life, whenever life asked you to choose, you chose me. Today, life has finally given me a chance to choose you. Please, don't steal my share of happiness by refusing this gift. Then Anand hugs him. Not for 5 seconds. A long hug. The kind where no father wants to let go. Then Annie walks towards Kavita. Ma, every child deserves parents like you. But I feel blessed because through Rohan, I received them too. Years had changed all of us. Anand's hair had turned silver. Kavita's hands carried the softness of time. Even I was no longer the bright blue stool they had brought home all those years ago. My color had faded. My surface was scratched. One of my legs had been repaired instead of replaced. But somehow, they never let me go. Perhaps because, without saying a word, I had grown old with them. I have seen expensive furniture come and go, beautiful houses, new cars, bigger televisions, but I have never seen anything more valuable than what these two quietly built together. 35 years, countless ordinary days, a lifetime of choosing each other. People may never remember an old blue plastic stool. That's perfectly alright, because if they remember Anand and Kavita, and leave believing that love grows stronger through kindness, patience, and shared ordinary moments, then this old stool will know it witnessed the richest couple in the world.